All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our community meetup. We're so glad that you're joining us today. Um, yeah. My name is Rachel. I'm the digital content creator here at Moving to Canada, and I'll also be your host for today's session. Um, I have my cup of tea here. We're keeping things super casual and conversational, so just feel free to get comfy. And as you can tell from our deck, we are going to be chatting about the current state of the International Experience Canada program in 2025. A lot's been going on. And of course, we will be spending most of our time answering your burning questions. For example, whether you're just starting the IEC process or if you're somewhere along in your application, or even maybe you're already in Canada on an IEC work permit, we're here to guide you at any stage of your journey. So with that, quickly introduce our panel for today. You may have seen them from previous live streams, but joining me today are my two fantastic team members. First up, we have Rebecca. She's our operations manager here at Moving to Canada, who is also a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. Rebecca, you want to say hi?
Yeah, hi everyone. Very much looking forward to helping some of you IECers out as you make your journey to Canada, or continue your journey in Canada. So looking forward to it.
Perfect. And we also have Hugo, who is our director of partnerships, and he actually went through the IEC program himself. So Hugo, do you have a few words?
Yeah, it seems a long time ago now, 2011. But yeah, looking forward to helping other people share this journey that I was fortunate enough to take a long time ago.
Perfect. And yeah, I guess we can move on to, I want to quickly get to know our viewers better. So for the ones that are viewing us right now, go ahead and type in the live chat below which country you're tuning in from, or perhaps you're already in Canada. Let us know which city you chose as your destination. And if at any point in the discussion too, you have like questions about what we're talking about, like we will be covering a lot on IEC updates, key changes in Canadian immigration that impact IEC viewers. So if any of these questions pop up in your mind, just type them below and we will get to them.
Okay, and yeah, people from the UK.
Perfect. We have a couple people tuning in from UK, from Texas. Hi. We have Jada from London, England, and moving to Toronto. Exciting stuff.
An Italian moved to Toronto, huh? Wouldn't be the first Italian to move to Toronto. Yeah, there's some great Italian culture in that part of the world.
Seems like we have a lot of UK viewers here, so that's good. And also Claudia says hello from Spain, and she wants to go to Toronto. Oh, she just got invited to the pool. Congrats.
Oh, congratulations. That's exciting.
It's cool that people are telling us where in Canada they intend to go. I'd love to know that as well. If people are like, hey, I'm from here, but want to go over there, that'd be great. I see a couple of Torontos. I'd love to see where Canada's a big place. I'd love to see where people plan on going.
Right. And I mean, even for us, like it's cool to see even our team being spread across different cities. Like, for example, I'm based here in Vancouver. You and Rebecca are holding it both down in Montreal, right? Yeah. How's the weather looking like? I know it's such a cliche question to start with, but how is it holding on over there?
It was miserable this morning. It's that time of the year where it's not any season in particular. It's too warm to be proper winter, and it's too cold to be proper spring. So,
but I find that it's like revitalizing right now. All the snow's gone. The grass is growing back. I'm enjoying this weather. Apart from today, it's been super rainy, but otherwise, I'm ready for spring, and I feel like energized by it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we have Babel here. It says, I'd love to go to Quebec, but I'm not sure if I can handle the cold yet. Might start in BC.
I think that's the same gentleman who's down in Texas. So yeah, that'll be a change.
Perfect. Yeah. Here in Vancouver, spring is definitely making an appearance, but it's so weird because we have like dark clouds right now, but like it's sunny, but they're dark clouds. But it's so nice too because like the cherry blossoms are popping out everywhere, and it's gorgeous. Like there's a street where there's like a line of cherry blossoms, and they're kind of arching over each other.
Mm.
A lot of people are taking photos there.
How long does the cherry blossom season last?
A month.
Oh, nice. So now's the time to go.
Exactly.
Hmm.
All right. Now, in terms of for those watching, like, sorry, like there's like a cough that I'm trying to suppress, but anyway, I also want to know like which for the viewers that are watching, what IEC stream
Yeah.
are they looking to apply for, right?
Working holiday, we've got young professionals, and we've got the international co-op. I came through the working holiday. Hugo?
Yeah, working holiday as well.
Working holiday. If I had to guess, I'd say most people right now are the working holiday. So we'll see. If you don't know what those programs are, then ask us.
Exactly.
Probably a good segue.
Yeah. And with that, I mean, we should do a quick refresher, right? IEC, the International Experience Canada program, is Canada's youth mobility program. Maybe Rebecca or Hugo, did you want to go through explaining what the program is all about?
Yeah, it's a very high-level overview. The IEC program allows for certain youth from certain countries to come and work in Canada. The most popular stream is the working holiday stream. That generally has where the most interest lies because it's an open work permit. You can come and work in Canada for almost any employer with few exceptions. It's a real great tool if you qualify as a gateway to come to Canada, earn that Canadian experience. There's 36 countries that participate. Each country has its own eligibility. So if you're not familiar with your country's eligibility, you will need to check because what's applicable to one person won't be applicable to the other person. Allows you to work in Canada for typically up to 1 to 2 years, but in some cases you can apply and participate in the program again. So there's 3 streams: the working holiday, the young professionals, and the international co-op. As I said, young professionals, the working holiday is an open work permit. That means you don't need a job offer to apply. And if you are approved, you will be able to come to Canada and work for any employer or almost any employer. The young professionals work slightly differently. That one does require you to have an employer before you apply. And so you would come to Canada and be able to work for that employer. And then the international co-op is tied to education, but also requires a job offer.
Now,
nice overview, Rebecca. Thanks.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, since you've both been through the process, right? Like, and maybe, like, let's say if I'm someone who's just looking at Canada as an option, and maybe I'm considering the IEC program, like, from your experience, like, what makes the IEC program so attractive? Like, what's the real draw for someone who's still like weighing their options?
Yeah, I can jump in there. Like, let's just take my experience. I came over in the IEC working holiday. I had a 2-year work permit, and I managed in that 2 years to work in sort of more casual work. I was bartending while also being self-employed as a freelance writer. So I had certain clients and I was able to maintain that. And then I was able to transition to a different employer in a more professional role, working for a law firm, while also in that 2-year stretch without having to get a different work permit. So like there's sort of 3 different ways that I worked within that 2-year stretch. Casual work, professional work, and self-employed work, all within that 2-year period. That was a while ago now, as I mentioned before, but it does show the opportunity that people have. You don't have to stay in your lane. You're not tied down to a particular employer. And then you might think, oh, well, that's better than young professionals, but something that Rebecca and I talk about internally is like sometimes the working holiday is oversubscribed, or the demand for that program exceeds the supply of work permits available. And if you do secure a job offer, you might be able to come over quicker on a young professionals, and depending on your country, you then might be able to re-participate in a different IEC category in the future. So it's not to say that one's better than the other, it's that they're different and they can serve different advantages to different types of people with different types of goals.
Yeah. I'm going to add to that, Hugo. I think one of the massive advantages of the working holiday or the IEC program is that I don't think people that qualify for the IEC program realize how fortunate they are. This is like a one-off program. It's not often that they just kind of give open work permits to people. And Canadian immigration has got harder and harder. So you're in a really lucky position where you have this as a program, because you probably don't have another option to come to Canada on to work. And I would just reiterate what Hugo says. You can use the three streams, well, mainly the working holiday and young professionals, as part of your strategy. Because someone here is saying debating between working holiday and IEC young professionals. If you have a job offer right now, personally, I'd probably do the young professionals. Because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. If your country of citizenship allows it, you can then participate again under the working holiday program if you don't have a job offer, for instance. So it kind of serves your need now and potentially serves your need in the future. But again, that's more of a subjective approach that I would take. So, yeah. But it's definitely, I mean, it says here why it matters. It's definitely a stepping stone. Hugo and I used it as a stepping stone to begin our life in Canada. It's also a stepping stone for you to boost your career, get some international work experience, international experiences if you don't intend to stay long term. So it's really opens the world up, irrespective of what your kind of long term goal is. No.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing all your experiences. And I guess we can jump straight into the meats and potatoes of the session, starting with some fresh updates on the IEC 2025 season. So, Rebecca, I'm going to hand this over to you. Could you give us a quick rundown of the key numbers here and maybe the changes that we're looking at?
Yep. So far we have seen just over 47,000 invitations issued. The first round, I believe, was the 13th of January. So it's quite a lot so far this year. Broken down further per category, 47,000, that's excluding any invites that were issued this week. So for those of you who have received an invite this week, congratulations. That's not reflected in this number. Normally, IRCC will update the numbers on Friday. We are tracking slightly behind 2024. So 2024 numbers at this point in the year, they'd issued more invitations. But if we look at the quota this year is just over 63,000. That's substantially lower than last year. That is also excluding Australia and Finland that have an unlimited quota. So if you kind of just looking at these numbers, it does seem a bit scary because it looks like most of the spots have already been allocated, but we will continue to see draws in the following months, probably up until October time. But you can expect it to start getting a bit more competitive if you are looking at entering the pool. And then finally, one of the an increase in the fees. So we went from $172 to $179 this year. So you have to remember to pay the correct fees.
Perfect. And also just to clarify, like this 63,000, that is the total number of invitations that will be issued for this year.
So this is the quotas. So how the quotas work is each country, and then broken down even further, each category, so your three categories, have a quota. So they say this is how many work permits you can issue under this category. So I would say this number here acts more as a guide of what you can expect. So last year, even though the quota was 82,000, they'd issued, I think it was closer to 100. Yeah. So they always over issue because they know some people won't activate the permit or some people won't continue with the application. So although we're at 47 right now, 47,000 ITAs issued right now, we'll probably end the year closer to, like, say, 90. Knowing that all those people, a good portion of those people or a certain percentage of those people will not come to Canada or will not pursue their application. But it's used as a guide. It's always useful to have it as a guide to how competitive your program is and how competitive your program could be.
Yeah, because I was just looking at the numbers like, oh, we're already at 47,000 and we're not even halfway through the year yet. So I was like, oh, how are they gonna?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't overly helpful advice right now, but we always say like enter the pool early because this kind of thing is typical. This is exactly what we see most years. They start strong and then taper off. So for those of you that haven't entered the pool or are waiting for a ITA from the pool, enter the pool if you haven't already, because you don't know what's going to happen, and you will still be exposed to many different draws. And for those of you in the pool, well, you can track like your chances on the our website. We have a work and holiday news hub which gives you your chances per pool. So you just kind of stay informed of what to expect, when to expect it, kind of thing.
And just quickly, Rebecca, like when you say enter the pool early, obviously like day one is as early as possible, but today is still earlier than tomorrow.
Yes.
Right. So a lot of the pools right now have chances equals excellent. That's subject to change. And even though you might not have been in the pool in January or February or March, it's still better to go in April than it is in May. You know what I mean? So someone's asked a question, when's early to enter the pool? I mean, as soon as possible is the definition of early.
The program, Hugo, just to give people an idea of like timing, the program closes around October each year and then reopens in December. So the 2025 program opened in December 2024, but they didn't select applicants until January. So when we say the best chance for you to do is obviously submit as soon as the program opens. But like Hugo said, it's better just to be in the pool. If you haven't entered the pool, like the best thing you can do right now is then just get in the pool. So, yeah.
Yeah, Jada here says that I entered on the 5th of January and was issued a POE letter about a month later.
Good job, Jada, because that means you had to get an invitation, submit, and then be issued the letter. So Jada's on it.
Yeah.
And Jada, if you could pop a comment, like when do you plan on arriving if you're not already here? And I'd love to know what your hopes and dreams are for your Canadian adventure.
We have one from Habitat. Like I paid $365 for my working holiday.
So look, nice one. Rebecca, just quickly on that question for you. Biometrics, is that, so we've got 179.75 listed on this slide. What do the government fees look like? Do third-party agencies potentially help people along their journey and charge a separate fee that's non-government? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have this fee here, the 179. That's the application fee. Those you will also have to pay the biometric fee of $85 if you haven't got like qualifying biometrics. There are some companies that do also, I guess, work with IEC applicants to help them in their application. So if you paid more, you could maybe have gone through someone. If you're applying under the young professionals, your company will have to pay a compliance fee of $230. So again, this one that says I paid $364 for their permit. Not knowing your background, there could be other things that you've done, or you went through a third party to help you.
They did mention just now that it includes the biometrics, so that would tick it up, and then
there's the additional $100 for the open work permit, Amber. Thank you. So that's probably the total. The open work permit, that's the working holiday. You would pay that.
Sasha has a question here. Can you travel home on holiday whilst in Canada on the working holiday visa?
Rebecca, I'll have a stab at that, and then you can just sort of, in a word, yes, you can, with the caveat that upon re-entry to Canada, assuming that is the intent, you would also have to satisfy a border officer that you're admissible for entry, which would mean that you'd need to have a work permit, a passport, and Rebecca, presumably an insurance policy that they could ask for that again upon re-entry. And we'll get into insurance later, I'm sure. But yeah, in a word, Sasha, yes, you can return home. And in the vast majority of cases, Canada will readmit you. and you just need to have your documents in order.
Sorry, can I just jump in? Jada just said Rebecca was amazing at helping me with my application. Jada and I worked on a special project, and hopefully we'll have information on that soon. But Jada, I'm so happy to hear that you got your port of entry letter. That's amazing.
Nice job, Jada, but also nice job, Rebecca. Well done.
Perfect. Okay, let's move on. Now that we've dug through some of the key highlights, maybe let's dig deeper into the spots that are being distributed among the different countries. So, Rebecca, again, can you walk us through which countries are leading the pack and what their quotas look like?
Yeah, so you'll see some kind of highlights on the screen. As I said before, so each country and then within that, each stream has their own quota. And so these are some of the countries with the highest quota. Australia and Finland enjoy unlimited spots, but that doesn't mean they kind of just go crazy and issue thousands and thousands of invitations. I think last year they also had unlimited and issued around 4,000 to 5,000. So the big hitters are South Korea, 10,000 working holiday. It's great. UK 9,000. That is a slight decrease from last year, but still pretty good for the amount of interest that's from the UK. France is going to be hugely disappointed for lots of people. France saw a decrease, and France is one of the most oversubscribed. There's so much interest from France. So although there's a decrease, I'm sure some people will be disappointed. And then you've got Japan with 6,500. And then I said there was 36 countries that form the IEC kind of state of play. And a lot of those countries have like 100 or 200 quotas. So these are some of the bigger ones that we see. Yeah.
Just a quick one, Rebecca. Like, you might think looking at this, oh, it's easier to come as a British person than as a French person, right? Because they've got more spots. But that's not necessarily how it works. It's based on how many people want those spots as well. And I think currently it's actually easier to get in as a British person on a working holiday than as a French person, even though they're taking in. So like, the point I'm making is like, even if they're in the same like sort of ballpark, okay, like that's still a big number. You know, these things are subject to change. Like I remember one of the pools last year, I forget which one, was like had a huge quota, but was like extremely hard to get through because of that. So
often they reflect like the demand, the supply and demand of the situation. Yeah. France is an anomaly because there's just so many people interested in this program.
Like I'm from Ireland, and I think the chances for my compatriots back home remain pretty high, even though the quota is much lower than for the UK and France.
Yeah, so Ireland was one of the bigger ones that I think last year they had 10,000. This year they've got maybe 3,000-4,000. So it's like on paper, it's a huge decrease.
Yeah.
But then if you think about it, last year they issued only 5,000 invitations. So they didn't actually use the whole quota anyway. What's more important now, though, is seeing what's left. So although this is good to give you an idea of like which programs are perhaps more used more, knowing what's left of these quotas is also a super useful metric in planning and deciding whether you're entering the pool and deciding how long it's going to take you or your chance of being selected. Our Working Holiday News Hub kind of goes into all that information. It will give you a breakdown of the quotas. It'll give you a breakdown of how many invitations have been issued and what your chances of being selected are. So if you are not already aware of that page, it's a great resource just to kind of give you an up-to-date status of what you can expect from the pool that you're entering. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly bring that up. This is our page, and you can find the link below. But yeah, it gives a very detailed breakdown of everything you need to know about the IEC, from the most recent invitations, even to knowing your odds of receiving an invitation for the next round, and even a table about the quotas and invitations. So make sure to check that out. With that, maybe let's go on to the flip side and talk about the areas where countries saw a significant drop in their quotas this year. So Rebecca, could you walk us through this?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, the overall quota for the whole program IEC dropped around just over 20% from just over 80% to just 80,000, to over 60,000. As a result, obviously, certain countries did see a massive decrease in the number of spots available. And so some here, Ireland was a big one, went from over 10,000 to just under 4,000. Costa Rica, again, Korea was a smaller decrease. But as I said, it's not to say that these programs will now become more competitive. It is likely in response to the utilization last year, but by virtue of less spots being available, you might have a harder time accessing the program if you're from one of these countries. So again, the best thing you can do is just get in the pools and try your luck. So I think most of these are still excellent chances of being selected, apart from Taiwan. So,
All right. Well, let's see if there are any questions. I see a couple questions trickling in from the community, so I'll just show it and we could take it from here. Run from, I applied for the IEC visa, having been here for almost 2 years and was approved. I am in Canada, but can no longer leave because I'm going through the PR process. How can I get my approved IEC visa? Oh.
I guess this would depend on the type of PR program that you're going through. As to why you can't leave. There might be some
maintained status might be in play here, Rebecca.
Yeah, there might be something just preventing you from leaving, which would be not a typical reason. So for those of you that don't know, if you're in Canada and you apply to participate again, you have to leave Canada and re-enter to activate your new work permit. And we'll go into the ins and outs of that later on. In this case, this individual is saying that they can't leave to approve their IEC visa. But unfortunately, that's the only way now. Until IRCC create a process for activating it in Canada, the only option is to leave Canada to activate your IEC visa. In that case, probably what I'd recommend is that you speak with an immigration representative to really go into your background and give you the best steps forward for you.
I would caution this questioner from gathering the answer to that question from forums and Facebook groups and things of that nature, because even though someone might have been in a similar situation, either it won't be exactly the same, or it will have been a year ago or 3 years ago or something, and things change. The reason why Moving to Canada exists is to track those changes and communicate them to the world, right? So they happen all the time. This stuff is always in flux. That kind of question there, I think it definitely demands 30 minutes in front of someone who really knows their stuff. If you go to the Moving to Canada website, you'll see under our partners, immigration consultants, and we've sort of narrowed down the many thousands of consultants around the country and around the world to a set of 2 or 3 that we highly recommend. I would definitely consider booking that. It is a slight upfront cost, but it can save you time, money, or both in the long run.
I'll just share this also in the live chat so that people know where to go.
And typically, IEC applications can be done on a DIY basis, but there are some cases where really it is worth your time to sit down with someone who lives and breathes this stuff, 7 days out of 7.
Perfect. Thank you. Maybe let's move on to the next question from Alessandro. What kind of jobs can someone land with a working holiday visa? Asking from the perspective of a policy professional who would like to continue in this sector.
It's a great question. So we'll go into the first question, which is more general, and then we'll address Alessandro's specific situation. So on working holiday, I think we've addressed this, but you can kind of work for any employer in any part of the country. You can switch jobs here. I was talking to a partner of ours this morning, Young Guns Container Crew. Rachel, I don't know if you've got the link handy, but if you could throw it up while I answer this question. They actually just opened a new job site just outside Montreal. They're an amazing company. Hundreds, and I'm not exaggerating here, hundreds of our IEC community have worked with Young Guns since we started working with them about 6 years ago. and they offer a lot of promotion opportunities. But it's not the only employer we work with. We have our new talent hub, which we'll get into later, talent pool. We work with professional organizations in recruitment, in construction, in tech, in finance and banking. We have our jobs board on the website. If people want the sort of a list of companies we work with directly, we have our jobs board there under the work menu that they can access. If I'll jump to the second half of Alessandro's answer now, you're a policy professional. Now, here's where it gets a bit, if you were to work in government or aim to work in government, it might be tricky to do that on an IEC working holiday because some of those positions demand you to have either PR or in some cases even Canadian citizenship. Now, those would be sort of in the upper echelons of the public sector. If you were to work in a not-for-profit or a charity or a local organization win policy, that's eminently possible because those are non-government organizations. Like if you're to work for a think tank or in academia or something, those might be possible on an IEC working holiday. But Rebecca, correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously if you want to be prime minister, you have to be a Canadian citizen, right? So that's not open for IEC working holiday makers. But trickling down from that, there are positions that someone who wants to work in policy, they might have limitations on their career while they're on the working holiday, but the working holiday is a great springboard to becoming a Canadian permanent resident as well. So you can use this as an opportunity to get some great Canadian experience while also earning points towards your eventual PR application. And then those opportunities can open up for you after you complete your time here participating on the IEC.
Now we have a question from Laura. How difficult is it to go straight into professional work rather than casual work on the working holiday?
You
IEC?
just set your alarm in the morning and, get out of bed.
I'll take this one, Hugo, because that's what I did.
Yeah, me too.
When I came to Canada, I had previously worked in other countries in a more casual work, but I knew from the get-go what I wanted out of my time on the IEC permit. I knew my time was limited. I knew that I wanted to get straight into professional work. And it took me 5 or 6 weeks. I was in Canada for 5 or 6 weeks, sending my resume, Canadianizing my resume at first. That's a very important step. And selecting, I come from a legal background, law firms aligned with what I was interested in, my culture fit and all that kind of stuff, and just applied away. And so I knew I give myself a certain amount of time to land a professional job, knowing that I could also find casual work. And I just kind of drilled away for a good few weeks and then was lucky enough to land a job that I stayed in for 8 years. So
yeah, nice one. Laura, great question. Slightly different to Rebecca. I came here and actually worked in a casual role bartending for a number of months. But while I was doing that, I always maintained like a strong portfolio towards getting career work. So I was freelancing. I was actually freelancing for moving to Canada. This is 2012, 2013. And eventually that gave me the springboard to a professional job. So I was able to put myself in front of potential employers and recruiters, and this is who I really am. I'm a professional, and I'd say this is more subjective, but like if you're going to take on casual work, but you've got professional goals down the track, like stay up to date on technology. Make sure that your portfolio, that your resume is strong. Like try to dabble in some sort of either volunteer or paid work. While the working holiday allows you to do that. There are things you need to take care of in that respect, but it is something you can do. I definitely benefited from that, and in terms of how difficult it is, it can be tough, but it's eminently possible.
Yeah. So Hugo, I just want to say, Flora from Toronto, hi, I think we know you. So nice to see you again.
Well, I shout out to Scotiabank. Flora is one of our key contacts at Scotiabank. So thanks for joining, Flora. We've hosted webinars with Flora in the past. Scotiabank's our main banking partner. I should mention them. They do incredible work for newcomers through their Start Right program. Rachel, I don't know, you've got the thing up in front of you. We can go back to resumes in a sec, but if you just go up to partners in Scotiabank, you can learn all about how to get started in Canada in terms of your finances with Scotiabank. It's there on the website. If you sign up for our email list, you can hear from them directly. So they're a superb partner of ours and have helped tons of IEC folks in their journey to Canada. So shout out to Scotiabank. Thank you. You can go back to the resume guide now. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to add something to the casual work comment, because I think there's a lot to also be said about gaining casual work experience, especially if you're young. Like I am adamant, like I studied in Norway for a year, and what made that so enjoyable was bartending. I'd meet locals, I'd meet people that I would never meet in a different environment. So there's also a lot to be said about kind of getting a casual job as well to help with the social aspect of moving to a new country.
Like I was out for a beer last week with one of my mates who I met at working 14 years ago bartending. Like it's a great way to build a social life and build a network as well. And that can be a social network, but you can tap into that social network for job opportunities as well. It's like they'll know someone who knows someone, and you know, the hidden jobs market is real, guys. It's very real. And the more sort of nice, kind, outgoing people you know, the more likely it is that you're going to land a job opportunity that's appropriate, even if those people are in your social circle, not necessarily your professional circle.
So in that case, like that's what I did. I set myself a target. I knew I could find bar work because I'd had that experience. But I was like, you know what, I give myself like 6 weeks to find a professional job, and it came through with like 4 to 5 weeks. I'm going to give myself this time, and if not, I'm going to explore other things. So having more of a longer term strategy is also helpful, because it is hard to land professional roles when you're not in Canada, when you don't have Canadian experience.
It's also something you need to take care of when you're presenting yourself to employers. All right, like if you say, hey, I'm here for a year, and after that I'll need your help to stay. Like let's say an employer's got a job up and they've got 200 candidates. And even though you've got great experience and you're an ambitious person, if you're presenting them with a challenge, a hurdle, like something, a snag, you need to, our founder calls it immigration risk, and he's a recruiter, so he knows what he's talking about. He helps present candidates from abroad to Canadian employers every day. And one of the things he coaches them on is how to deal with that question of like, are you here for the long haul? I would say that one of the things, if you want professional work in Canada over the longer term, beyond the scope of your initial work permit, it's kind of on you to come up with an action plan for staying here beyond. Don't present that as in an interview as like something that you need that prospective employer to solve for you. They're looking to you to solve a business problem. Don't be presenting them with a problem, like a bureaucratic problem.
That's excellent. That's an excellent piece of advice.
From Alessandro, do people have to resubmit if they fail to be pooled in their first year? I guess it's similar to express entry, where there's a validity, it expires after 1 year.
So if you've applied in previous years, when that program closed, so if you applied in 2024 when that program closed, they kind of got rid of all the profiles. You'd have to resubmit your profile to a 2025 pool. So yes, if you have not resubmitted your profile, then you should do that for the 2025 season. You'll be able to see, if you go into your GCK account, the IEC portal for what you use to apply, you should see any active applications there. So, but if you did apply in a previous year, then that won't be active still.
Perfect, thank you. And from Red Styla, do you need to have a passport, or is a Canadian citizenship certificate enough to apply for the streams? I'm in the process of obtaining dual here in Europe, and I'm wondering what's the best timing.
You need a passport, because the visa is attributed to a passport. When you apply, you need to enter passport informations. So if you don't have the passport yet, you won't be able to enter the pool. It's required to enter the pool. You have to say which is your passport information, stuff like that. So, yeah.
Moving on to currently in Canada, first year of my 2-year working holiday visa, Irish passport. Is it viable to apply for a second IEC visa if RO wait lists are large? and I don't have a UK passport, I will apply for Francophone PR. I want to say.
Lots of acronyms in this question. Maybe we'll deal with RO first of all, Rebecca.
So an RO is a recognised organisation. It is a great option if you have used all your participation through the regular country stream. So in this case, Ireland, they only allow for one participation. So in that case, if you don't have a second citizenship, and I guess a lot of Irish people have UK passports as well. That's why there's that it's unusual for them not to. They could go for a recognised organisation. Disadvantages of a recognised organisation: it can cost thousands, and it's highly competitive, especially if you're looking at people that are in Canada right now, looking at options to extend their stay. They may not be eligible for PR. They're using recognised organisations. So wait lists are large. I think you pay a deposit to join a wait list when the program's open. Same kind of advice, apply early if you are looking to go with a recognised organisation. I know people that join several wait lists to kind of increase their chances. And so it's a tough one. It's like all immigration streams, IEC is now becoming more competitive. And it's knowing your options now. It's great that you even know these options. You said you're in your first year of your working holiday, so you've obviously got a plan. So is it viable? It's unknown for the future, but if you don't apply, join the wait list, then it's not viable, no. So join the wait list if you can. Sort out your PR. You look like you're already looking at your PR options, which is great.
I was about to say, this person, presumably their name is not River Below, but to my fellow countryman or woman, kudos on planning ahead for PR. And this person clearly knows what they're talking about, because they've referred to, they've called it Francophone PR. That's not the legal term, but we kind of know what they're talking about. Canada has opened up more economic permanent residence spots for people who have some level of French ability. So it sounds like this person's targeting that because it's actually easier to get through than through some other streams. So this kind of goes back to my previous question, answer, Rebecca, about planning ahead, not putting it on your employer, taking on that responsibility yourself, learning about how to stay in Canada beyond your initial work permit. It really, it can be life-changing, and I'm not exaggerating. Like to stay here for 1 year or for 70 years, like, you know, that's what this could turn on, you know, is something like that. So it's on you as the applicant, as the worker, to try and figure out how to stay. There are ways to stay. This webinar won't necessarily deal with all those, or we've got separate events, I'm sure, lined up for those. But it's on you to figure out a way to stay. And websites like Moving to Canada are here to help you along that journey.
Yeah. To add to that, it's interesting because I don't know if I was discussing this with you recently, Hugo, that everyone has like different expectations of their IEC experience.
Yeah.
And you never know. So we see many people that come and say, okay, I only want to stay for 6 months. I only want to stay for a year. And then that will change to, I want to live here forever.
Yeah.
So just being prepared, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how this experience will change you. You might intend to stay forever and then say, you know what, Canada's not for me. But just being educated to know what your options are in any event will really serve you well.
Do you know what, though? Like you're hitting on something there, Rebecca, which is some people will think, I only want to come for 6 months. I'll come in April and I'll leave after the summer. But you know what? Humans are chaotic. They fall in love either with a person or with a job opportunity or a place, or all of the above. All right. And they're like, this is the best place ever. I'm having the best time. But you know what? They arrived. They cheaped out on insurance. They didn't extend their passport. You know, they cut corners here and there thinking they were being smart. We see this all the time, right? You guys are closer to the community and to the content. My biggest piece of advice, honestly, pre-arrival, is just whether it's for 1 year or 2, depending on your country, get the full insurance. Okay, even if you only intend to stay for a season, because it's better to pay that extra couple of $100 up front for that extra coverage that you might not need than it is to turn around after a season or 2. And this happens to a lot of people because this place is awesome, right? And they go, oh, I want to stay. But guess what? You can't, because you bought a shorter health insurance policy. Rachel's just thrown up something here. We've got all the information laid out here, questions and answers, videos we've got with experts about all this stuff. I know everyone's eager to watch videos about insurance. I mean, when I wake up in the morning, that's what I want to do. You're kidding. It is a really tedious topic for some people, but just go out there and get the maximum validity insurance product. It has to satisfy certain conditions. The insurance product you have in your home country will not suffice. The insurance product you get through a prospective employer in Canada will not suffice. Okay, I can say that with 100% confidence. It has to be something that satisfies these specific conditions: medical care, hospitalization, and repatriation back to your home country in the event that something that you don't want happens. So like, just go get it. Don't buy 4 months of insurance thinking you're only coming for the summer and then fall in love with a place, a person, or a job and want to stay. That'll be really lame. Don't be that person. It happens all the time. Yeah.
I was going to say that was really poetic at first, Hugo, and then you just called everyone lame. So, yeah, no, but I understand, and it's a very good point. Expect the unexpected, and the best thing you can do is be prepared for any kind of event. And the worst thing is when it's outside of your control, when you've done something and you can no longer rectify it. So,
yeah.
Perfect. All right. I guess we can move on to the next big update, and it's all about no more flagpoling for IEC work permits. Rebecca, can you break down the information here, and how does this impact IEC work permit holders?
Yeah, so this was a nice surprise just before the Christmas break. ISCC said that they were no longer accepting flagpoling for those looking to activate or apply at the border. So let's go take that back a bit. What is flagpoling? Flagpoling is the process in which a temporary resident in Canada, so someone that has legal status in Canada, leaves Canada, enters a land border in the via the US and reactivates their permit at the land border. It's common because, as I said before, IEC applicants in Canada have no other option right now but to leave Canada and re-enter to activate the status. Obviously, the cheapest way to do that, the most efficient way to do that, is just to drive down to a US border if that is within reach and reactivate your permit. That's no longer allowed. So we do have an article now that goes into the options. But just a caveat, everyone's border experience is very different. So what works for one person might not work for the other person. So we have tried to, and again, people have different risk tolerances. So we've tried to lay out your different options in an article that Rachel, can you link if you have that available? So if anyone is looking at what do I do now, this will go right into it for you.
Perfect. All right. I'm just trying to find. Perfect. And now let's see the other questions here that people flagged. From Sasha. Can you travel to Canada within the 1 year of getting a POE, but then leave and come back a month or so later? Just thinking about when to quit my job and notice period. That's true.
Yeah, so as long as you activate your land in Canada within the year of receiving or the validity of your port of entry letter, you can, so long as, again, like what Hugo says, you need to be eligible to re-enter Canada, your insurance and things like that. Whenever you re-enter Canada, they're going to assess your permit, assess your status. So yes, you can come activate your status, then leave. But there are obviously implications that you have to think about. Just thinking about when to quit my job, notice period. I mean, that's the past. That's your current employer. Like, you might need the time in Canada to find employment and things like that. So there's pros and cons to doing that.
I mean, one thing that this question kind of alludes to, Rebecca, is a timeline, right? You get into school, let's say you get invited within the first month. Then you've got 10 days to weigh up whether to accept that invitation. When you do accept it, you got 20 days to apply. When you do apply, you've got this, then it's out of your hands, right? But typically we're looking at typically about a 2-month run before you might be approved, right? That's very much flexible. But then, and this is the point I want to try and get to, you've got a year to enter Canada, which is a long time, in my opinion, right? Mm-hmm. Like, in terms of wrapping up a job or a notice period, I'd be worried if for any employer-employee situation where that was considered a short notice period, right? So yeah, you've got a year to figure out wrapping up your employment and anything else in your home country or wherever you're living. But if you don't enter in that period, you know, that counts as participation. You won't be able to enter that after that point. So do land within that year. That's key.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say, I was actually going to flag this one. So this is an interesting one, because what we actually used to advise was like, you could come to Canada, have your POA, enter Canada as a visitor, and then activate your IEC status. That's not good anymore, because that activating the IEC status is harder. But you can come to Canada, look for jobs. The thing about looking for jobs in Canada is you're in Canada, you can attend in-person interviews, you've got an in-Canada cell phone number, you've got an in-Canada address if you need to kind of give your address. I think it just facilitates the job search. For sure, it's scarier, though. It puts more pressure on it. But I personally think it's better to be in the country to job search. And again, thinking back to my own job search experience, what is it? Oh gosh, 15 years ago now. That's quite some time. I was in Canada. I attended interviews. I was like on top of it. Like they messaged me. I was there. So there is something to say about that. But again, it's not to say don't start job searching. Absolutely start job searching. You can, or at least research, lay the groundwork, make your resume Canadianized, kind of look at what's expected of you, how you can better present yourself.
Yeah.
We also work with a company called Doctor that help Canadian resumes. So if you're working for a professional, like casual work, I think is a bit different. But if you're looking for a professional, role, you might want to consider a resume writing service. It could help you land that role, understand more about what the Canadian resume is expected from you. So if you choose to start job searching now, which is still a good idea, you can lay the groundwork.
Can I just top up on that? So Adriano said they mentioned they're working in accounting and finance. I wanted to point out that on our Moving to Canada jobs board, we work with a recruiter that hires for those specific roles. So we've hired people, or our recruitment partners hired people across different levels of accounting, different levels of finance and banking. Go to our jobs board on movingtocanada.com, Adriano, and you'll see some opportunities. If you can't, let us know, because they should be there. I'm pretty sure they are there. I checked this morning. And then in terms of like Canadianize your resume, let's lean into a little example of what that might look like. I think people around the world, Irish people certainly, are a bit more sort of, this is what I did when they talk about their roles. These are the duties that I carried out. That won't work in Canada. You kind of have to sell yourself a little bit more on paper. Your job with a resume is to earn an interview, right? It's just to get to the next point. In order to do that here, you're going to have to speak to specific achievements that are attributable back to you, back to projects that you led or that you were involved in, and quantified. I reduced spend on this by X%. I increased ROI on this by X amount of dollars, or whatever the currency is. There's a lot to get into there. Don't just think that slapping Toronto on your resume and putting on a phone number kind of covers it. Like it's a whole different way of thinking about how to present yourself in the job market. Really different, certainly, to where I grew up, and it took a lot of getting used to. And now Rebecca and I are looking at resumes every day, whether to hire for our team or on behalf of our recruitment partners. And I'm like, I know a good resume when I see one now. It's someone who's like, I get it. You guys want to know what my achievements are. It's really important to cover this stuff, because ultimately it's going to be on you to get a job as a candidate, and don't waste time just doing the same old thing that you might have done in your home country. There is a different way of doing things here. I can vouch for that.
Yeah, it's good.
From Red Style, what jobs are currently in demand? I've done finance and accounting, but I'm not sure how much in demand that is and how likely an employer is willing to employ someone from the other side of the world.
The other side of the world, it depends on the employer. Like some employers will tap into more traditional local markets. But if you can satisfy someone that you're going to solve their business problem, they will take you seriously as a candidate. How you do that is you speak in terms of achievements that you've accomplished in previous roles or in your current role. You satisfy them that you're not going to be an immigration risk. Hey, I've got a 2-year work permit, but don't worry, I'll figure out a way to stay longer term. And then you have a decent shot of getting an interview, or when you're in the interview, getting to the next point, or even getting a job offer quickly. There are tons of jobs in finance and accounting. Like, as I mentioned, we work with a recruiter that mostly works out west, closer to Vancouver. But yeah, like these companies usually work business to business. It's a free market economy here. There's a lot of need for finance and accounting. A lot of Canadian firms are now looking to other firms in Canada in terms of how they procure B2B for economic and even political reasons at the moment. So Canada's looking for other people that can help sort of beef up the Canadian economy. I would say that if you present yourself right, you've got a decent shot of success.
Perfect. Yeah, I want to quickly bring up the IEC, the next slide on express entry changes impacting IEC work permit holders. It seems like the news around the job offer, the points for job offers being removed might impact IEC workers. And I just want to dive a little bit deeper as to how those in the process can anticipate this upcoming change, especially if they're prospecting the idea of looking to immigrate to Canada long term, or just like in the process of that they're already here and they want to see their long term options. So, Rebecca, can you quickly break down what happened?
Yeah, I do think we've had a couple of questions about transition to PR. So the express entry system is a way that the Canadian government source applicants for certain types of permanent residency applications. It used to be that IEC workers were at some kind of an advantage, because if they were on, say, the younger professionals work permit, they may be able to secure job offer points that would mean that they rank higher within the express entry system. That changed earlier this year. So it now means that IEC applicants, but in addition to IEC applicants, all applicants with a job offer no longer get those points. So if you are worried about this, know that you're not the only one. So if you've seen your CRS points, which is the comprehensive ranking system score used in the express entry pool, if you've seen that drop, so is everyone else with a job offer. But you should look at other ways to improve your ranking if you're concerned that your profile isn't strong enough. So if you're concerned now that by seeing this decrease in your CRS score that you're no longer competitive, you do need to look at other options. There's a few strategies here, but again, everyone's options change depending on other background information. But some of the ways you can improve your score are just like learning French, improving your English if you haven't received full marks there, and the provincial nomination. So there's still massive benefit to having a job offer. It will open PNP doors. It just means that your ranking within the express entry system isn't as high as it once was.
Perfect. Now let's see some of the questions that trickled in that may be related here. Let's start with Sam Rees. 2 years ago, we were invited to apply one day after entering the pool. Is that normal? How long might we expect to wait if entering the pool today?
Hugo?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible to be invited within a day of entering the pool. It's dumb luck, really. Some people wait months. Some people don't get invited at all within the IEC season, and either they re-enter a profile the following season, or they figure out another way to get to Canada, or Canada's not for them. But some people, get invited real quickly. That's all there is to say on that. How long might we expect to wait if entering the pool today? Most pools, so taking that word today quite literally, all right? Today, on April 3rd, 2025, most working holiday pools have excellent chances of invitation in the next round. That is to say that the number of candidates remaining in the pools is significantly lower than the number of spots remaining. Rebecca, correct me if said that wrong, but I think that's my understanding of how that sort of continuum from very low to excellent works.
Yeah.
So yeah, how long won't you expect to wait if entering the pool today? It could be days, it could be weeks if you're in one of those pools. It's probably not going to be months. It could be though, and yeah, don't hold me to that, but more likely it's going to be pretty quick if your chances are excellent.
Let's move on to the next question. Thanks for that. If I get a 2-year visa at immigration, can I travel for 6 months, then go home for a few months, then return for the remainder of my visa? Or is there a limit on how long you can stay out of the country during a visa? From Amber.
I think we kind of covered this. Yes, you can travel if you remain eligible, but obviously whenever you're out of Canada, you're not gaining Canadian work experience. So if your longer term goal is to gain work experience in Canada so you have more PR options, then this is probably not a strategy that I would recommend. But you can travel so long as you're eligible, so long as your insurance permits leaving and re-entering.
Yeah, that's entirely correct, Rebecca, and that's the right answer. I always think that there's two types of personas that pursue IEC. There's adventurers, and there's people who are thinking beyond the scope of the initial work permit. I call them professionals. You can be an adventurous professional. This person here, Amber Lee, clearly, just from that question, looks like an adventurer. They're like, I want to work in Canada for a season, maybe come back another season. In between, I'll do something else. If that's you, please just know that your options for staying beyond the initial work permit are really narrow, if they exist at all. I just need to flag that up front. We see them though, they do kind of fit into those two nice little buckets. And Rebecca, I know you love your buckets. So you got adventurers and people who are career minded, let's just say, beyond the initial scope of the IEC work permit.
Next up is this is a comment from Grace. I'm from New Zealand, entered in the pool in January and received her POE letter last weekend. So
excellent.
Not really a question, just a hand clap. Well done. That's great.
I'm going to turn it into an informative statement. What we often do find though is when the program first opens, processing times are really fast. If you get your invitation in July, August time, don't expect a month turnaround. You're going to be looking at an 8-9 week processing period. So if you're planning your process based on all these quick success stories, just beware that as we get further into the program, we will start seeing more delays as they process applications. So I think in 2024, processing got to around 9 to 10 weeks for the working holiday permit by July. So yeah, but excellent, Grace. Congratulations.
From LinkedIn, what were the first steps in applying? I guess for the IEC, can a summary brief be emailed to me?
This person's going to get a lot of emails.
Yeah, write that down. I don't want to spam.
I forgot the question. I'm sorry. I was too distracted by the email.
I'll find it in the thread and call it out.
It's what were the first steps in applying, or can a summary or brief?
If you're interested in applying to the IEC program, Moving to Canada has a great IEC checklist. So if you create a Moving to Canada account, you can select an International Experience Canada program, and you will have access to a checklist. And that will basically just walk you through every single thing you need to do to enter the pool, to apply. So if you are worried that you've missed a few steps, or you're really not sure of which steps to take when, I recommend that you take a look at that and really utilize our checklists.
To that LinkedIn user, yes, info can be sent to your email, but it's on you to go and grab it. So you see the link there, create a free Moving to Canada account, go and do it. If you're unable to create that right now because you're just on a certain device type or something, just go to the website after the event. You'll see a create your free account call to action on pretty much any page. Go there, select IEC or an IEC category. You'll get a personalized checklist, and we will be able to communicate with you about your journey directly to your email. So that's the way to do it.
Perfect. This one's a string of questions from Dust and Smoke. I'll read through them very quickly. I don't have access to a location to take a language score, but my native language is English.
So if we're just looking at IEC, language tests aren't required. So if we're looking at language tests for other immigration programs, we won't get into that right now because we could kind of go into this massive stream on that, but a language test isn't required for IEC.
They also mentioned that because of the events happening in the US, I don't know what pathway I qualify for to immigrate to Canada. We just had a live stream covering this topic of how to move to Canada from the US. So it's just right before this live stream. So you could check it out on our YouTube channel. And let me see if I can quickly pull that up as well.
Yeah, we for anyone wondering, we do host most of these recordings on our YouTube channel. They're very popular right now, but also afterwards. And we did one on US to Canada migration, I think about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was really popular. It was full of great information. Rebecca was leading it. So
it was really sick though, so you have to bear with me.
And if people don't know what pathway they qualify for to immigrate to Canada, Rebecca, we've got our quiz, right? So maybe a quick word on that, if you want to go for it.
Yep. So we have our immigration quiz, which if you just input some information about you and your circumstances, we'll assess you against various different programs and kind of suggest programs for you. Again, this quiz is within the Moving to Canada account. So create that first account and then you'll see access to all these useful resources that we have for you.
There's a lot of good stuff in there. It takes about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
From Jada again, do Canadian employers value cover letters? Just wondering if this would be a good place to explain my immigration plans.
Before we answer this, I think we're doing a session later this month with Rory, right? So he would. I'm raging he's not here right now to address this, and I guess we'll do our best job. But our founder of Moving to Canada is a recruiter who helps hire mostly construction and engineering professionals to work in Canada. But he's been doing it for well over a decade. He's got some interesting thoughts on cover letters. I mean, in our experience, most applicants do write a cover letter. And, I know when I receive a resume, I do, this is subjective, right? I do like seeing a cover letter with it. Are people able to communicate beyond just are they able to write? Are they able to beef out an argument, basically? But there might be situations where they're not necessary or it's not a good idea. Rebecca, in your experience, you're a hiring manager too. What would be your take on this one?
I do look at cover letters. I absolutely do look at cover letters. I'm more interested in the second half of the statement though. Just wondering if this would be a good place to explain immigration plans. So whether you include a cover letter or not, sometimes you will have to include a cover letter. You'll see the job description, and if you're applying for a portal, it will require the cover letter as well. Would I explain my immigration plans? Not in depth, no. I would just say that I've got legal authorization to work in Canada if it wasn't clear. I wouldn't use my cover letter to kind of go into this massive immigration strategy that I had. If I needed to make it clear that I had legal authorization to work in Canada, I would say I have legal authorization to work in Canada and leave it at that. Whether Canadian employers value cover letters, I do look at cover letters. I'm Canadian, but I'm also British, so I'm carrying some of that with me. So will a classic Canadian employer value cover letter? Maybe that would be a good place to say we're going to run a job search webinar in the coming weeks, which Rory would be able to probably better respond to that. If in doubt, though, include.
I think it's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
That include.
From Claudia, I just got invited to the pool. When will be a good moment for me to renew my passport? It expires next year. It's still valid, but I'm afraid I might have some problems in the future.
So, were they invited? Are they in the IEC pool, or were they invited to apply from the pool? Because I think, Rebecca, that might sort of change the strategy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
It sounds like you're invited from in the pool. If you are invited, this is going to be the working holiday. If you're invited from the pool, you can apply and then update your application before it is approved. You can contact IEC, send them a copy of your new passport. It may be that you can only renew your passport within like a certain month time frame. Sometimes they say you can only renew it within 6 months. If you have your work permit, it will be issued to the validity of your passport, but you will then be able to extend if the only reason you weren't given your full kind of participation is because of the passport expiry. I have seen some commentary on the fact that people get approved on their old passport, but in the interim, before they've activated their work permit, they get a new passport, and they have success carrying both passports to the border to transfer over. So it depends on which stage you are in the application as to what your next steps would be.
Now, from Melissa, I got my ITA in January and submitted my application in Feb. They asked for additional documents, which I submitted. One of them I cannot obtain, which I wrote a letter explaining.
Yeah. One interesting thing is in this season specifically, I think I am seeing a lot more requests for additional documents than in previous years. I don't know if that symbolizes that they're being stricter in how they process. It just goes to show that there's the importance of having a very solid application to begin with. Because you can see here, this application's been delayed by several weeks because of the request for additional information. It really depends on what document you were not able to obtain. If it's like a fundamental document, that could really impact. If you've just written a letter that says, I can't get this document full stop, then that will impact. If you've given rationale, if you've given proof that you've tried, like it really depends on your individual circumstances.
So like an example there might have been a request. This is just an example. It's not necessarily Melissa's situation. Like a request for an updated police certificate or a police certificate from a third country that's not the home country or something. As long as you show your best efforts to try and procure that document, right? It's better than saying, hey, I don't have it yet.
Yeah.
You have to show like the actionable steps you've taken on a best efforts basis to secure that document. That's the important thing.
If in doubt, you can always send a web form, but they're not really effective nowadays. If you're in Canada, you can try call-in. Again, limited information. If you are concerned, you can speak to an immigration consultant, a representative. They might be able to give you a little bit more information, having reviewed the particulars of your file. There's other things you can do to get information on what's going on in your application. It could also just be that they requested additional information, and as soon as they request additional documents, you can expect a delay in your file.
Perfect. Question from Yaz. Do Canadian employers typically value experience or qualifications more, in particular in banking?
Yeah, great question. There is sort of a cliche out there, and unfortunately, like a lot of cliches, it does have a ring of truth about it, that a lot of Canadian employers do overvalue Canadian experience over international experience. Now, this is a very general statement. There are lots of exceptions to this general rule. But one thing we find, like Rory, our founder, had a piece in the Toronto Star last year about this, sort of calling employers out for this. Yes, how does this affect your question? They do value experience. In particular, a lot of them do value Canadian experience. Now, coming from abroad and having not worked in Canada, which I assume is your situation, that means you're going to have to like amplify your achievements in your international work. So I don't know where you're coming from in the world, but you really have to nail that resume. You have to like over-egg your personal achievements. You have to like really lean into that idea that it can't just be a list of duties and employers and hope that you're going to secure an interview. In terms of qualifications, I've never worked in banking. I know a lot of people that do. I know that it's, there's quite a sort of, there's various entry points to that sector, whether it's through university or through just sort of on-the-job training. I don't feel qualified to sort of give a definitive answer on that question, other than to say that it depends on the hiring manager, it depends on the institution, it depends on a bunch of other factors. Obviously, they've answered, like, if you've got great experience and great qualifications, that's super. It's better to have both than just to have one or the other. Which one they prefer, sorry to hedge my bets here and sit on the fence. Unless Rebecca or Rachel, you want to pine in. I can't speak to a general rule here of which might be overvalued one over the other.
I think it depends on the roles that you're applying to, right? If you're applying to a role which requires experience, then obviously your qualifications will have limited use.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about qualifications, if you're heavily relying on your qualifications to secure the employment you're applying to, don't assume that the company or the hiring personnel will know what those qualifications are. Each country has different levels of qualifications, but obviously a bachelor's degree is a bachelor's degree, but the scoring system is different. So if it's something that you're really heavily reliant on, just make sure you kind of give it the Canadian twist of this is equal to this in Canada. But again, don't go applying for a role which requires 10 years of experience if you don't have experience, because that would be probably not a productive use of your time.
Let me give an example of what you just said there. I'm from Ireland. Rebecca, you're from the UK. I think both of our educational systems, higher education, speak in terms of honors, first class honors, 2-1, 2-2, right?
Yep, correct.
It's not the lingo here,
yep.
Right? A hiring manager will not know what that means. Okay, so it's not just do they typically value experience or qualifications? Oh, balloons, great. Where do they value that? It's on you to communicate the value of those qualifications.
That's the thing.
You can't just say I have a first class honors at the University of Cambridge. Great, like that sounds wonderful, but like a Canadian hiring manager literally might not know what that means. You have to translate it into GPA. And if you're hearing the words GPA for the first time right now, like it's on you to go off and figure out what that means. Grade point average. Figure out a way to calculate it. Translate your qualifications into a format that Canadian employers understand. It's key.
No.
Maybe a follow-up question here. How do you get by not having Canadian work experience when looking for professional roles?
There's a lot you need to do. You need to have an awesome resume that you're ready, willing, and able to curate for each job application. Mm-hmm. You're willing to network to find opportunities where other people don't know they exist. What's your unfair advantage? If you're just on LinkedIn and Indeed applying to open roles, you're throwing your resume in with 1,000 other people. I'm not exaggerating, 1,000 other people. Okay. So that's how do you network pre-arrival? Well, like compared to a generation ago, we've got all the digital tools we need to do effective pre-arrival networking. You can meet people like we're communicating today. You can sit down and have a video chat. You can do so much. There's automations you can do. You can set up email sequences. You can prospect.
The reality is that any newcomer that comes to Canada doesn't have Canadian work experience.
Yeah.
And you have to find a way to make that work for you. And there's, like Hugo said, various tools available to assist that.
Yeah, and then post-arrival, it's trying to turn trying to turn what's perceived by the employer as a demerit point in your application into an advantage. I've got all of these things that I've learned and done abroad and all these achievements, and I'm so stoked to bring that into your organization. Turn your disadvantage into an advantage.
It's really beautiful advice. And I mean, now that we have talked about the IEC updates and even the immigration changes, also like navigating the Canadian job market, I think this would be an appropriate time to bring up our helpful resources, not just for IEC, but also just general, like settling in Canada. So Hugo, could you walk us through that?
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. We've got our latest updates. So that's updates on invitation rounds, quotas, and country-specific trends. That's IEC News. We update it weekly. And then the next is the Resource Hub. There's loads in there. So we've got guides to every IEC category, things around like document lists, sort of what you need to sort of prepare pre-arrival, etc. Our Facebook group. So we've got, I think, closing in on about 40,000 people in there, and it's very active. It's great. There's polls, there's questions, there's people like helping each other out. It's very well moderated. I'm thankful every day for the moderators that take care of that group. They're awesome. as well as you two, Rachel in particular, for making sure that we're distributing our news and updates in there. So Facebook group, it's take the QR code and you'll find it. If not, then you honestly create a Moving to Canada account. We'll communicate with you by email how to access the Facebook group. It'll be there. And then the jobs board, I've mentioned it a couple of times. I mentioned Young Guns Container Crew specifically as a great opportunity. A couple of hundred IEC candidates have gone there, and loads of them have been promoted into great positions. Some of them have been able to secure their status in Canada long term with the help of that organization. They help people with a process called LMIA, who that basically means that the employer helps the candidate stay in Canada after IEC. And our jobs board got loads of other jobs. So we work with outpost recruitment. If you're an engineering or construction professional, we just put up a bunch of jobs in trades employment. A couple of key partners, Westcan, Black & McDonald. These guys are hiring trades roles, in scaffolders, plumbers, all sorts of trades roles, mostly in Western Canada, but not all in Western Canada. So that's our jobs board. Whether you're casual trades or professional, like office jobs, there'll be something there on the jobs board. I saw someone make a comment in the comments, and it's entirely valid, that they couldn't find professional roles. Look, we're always improving our jobs board. Either key in a location or a job sector, or just keep scrolling down. The roles are there. You just have to go and dig them out. And we're always striving to improve the user experience on our jobs board. So it's not you, it's us, but the jobs are there.
I also wanted to bring up very quickly the IEC talent pool. Rebecca or Hugo, could you walk us through?
Rebecca's been very involved in putting this together, and me less so. So Rebecca, if you don't mind doing the honors.
Yeah, so this is an initiative to try and gather, as I say, Hugo said it so nicely, that we have been helping IEC participants over a huge range of industries for the last 12 years. And we're using this opportunity to gather a talent, IEC talent, people looking for jobs, no matter what the hospitality, because we can find those jobs. We've got lots of connections. Rory, as I said, our co-founder, is in recruitment. And so we're using this opportunity to gather your information to best match you with employers looking to hire IEC participants. So we do have a few companies in the spotlight. We have Black & McDonald currently looking to hire plumbers, HVAC technicians, and other construction pros. We've got Westcan looking to hire industrial scaffolders and labourers. Outpost Recruitment, our sister company, Construction Trades Engineering. And we also have positions for labourers and container loaders. And we also have many different hospitality jobs that we're looking for. I think if you scroll down more, we've got more stories. So it's a really great opportunity for you to enter the talent pool, send us your resume, let's have a look, see what you've got, what you're offering, and we can hopefully use that information to find you a great role in Canada. So it's free, it's not going to cost you anything. Yeah. It'll take you maybe 2 minutes to fill out the form, and that's it. So I encourage everyone to enter our IEC talent pool if you can, and let us take it from there. Let's try and help you. Let's get you matched.
Yeah, it's a great program that you've launched, Rebecca. Like, kudos to you and the team for putting the talent pool together. We've already seen some great candidates come through, and we're excited to place them. So, like, don't wait about, just join the talent pool. It's there. And one thing you hit on there, you said it's free. Like, everything we're doing is free, right? The account, the checklists, the emails. Just to be clear, full transparency, Moving to Canada works for you guys for free. We work with partners who want to tap into you, hire you, get you great insurance products, and the price you pay to them is the same you would in the market, or in some cases it's less. We actually give you guys benefits, discounts, offers, etc. So other organizations will work with IEC candidates with a program and charge them for a service. I'm not saying that's better or worse, it's just different. The way we work is we work with you for free, and we work with organizations that want to hire you, and everyone's happy. Perfect.
Yeah, and I think we will go through maybe 3 to 5 more questions before concluding the session. So let's start off with Sasha. Is it 3 years working holiday visa for UK or 2?
This is going to be specific to the UK. Again, it changes. depending on the country you are applying to. So for the UK, you can participate for 2 years, then you can get another 1-year permit. But as I said, that's specific to the UK. So just because I've said that doesn't mean if you're Irish, that's going to be applicable to you. You really have to make sure you check the participation eligibility requirements for your country.
Next question is can one choose when they want to enter the country after being selected?
You got 1 year.
Yep.
1 year. And
sorry, to be clear, after that person said selected, after being approved, you got 1 year. After you're selected, you got 10 days to accept the invitation, then you got 20 days to apply, and then you're going to wait up to 2 months, maybe a little longer, before you're approved, and then you've got a year. Sorry, I want to address the specific question that the person asked. But once you're approved, you got a year.
Perfect. And then from Mark, do you guys think the outcome of the election could lead to changes in immigration policy that might affect IEC?
Oh, I'd love to handle that one.
So policy, Hugo.
Yeah. Well, you remember last October, they brought out the new immigration plan, and IEC sits under a program called the International Mobility Program, and they are reducing the numbers to that program. We do not know at this point the extent to which that might affect IEC specifically as sort of a child of that parent program. But we should expect conservatively a downturn in the number of IEC approvals over the next 3 years, including this year. That's just based on what the data that the government has put forward. One of the things about IEC that we haven't really mentioned is that it's reciprocal. So I'm Irish, I moved to Canada. Canadians have that same opportunity to go to Ireland, Taiwan, Italy, Australia. You get the picture. All right. So I would expect that IEC will continue for a long, long time because it provides opportunities for Canadians. All right. And that is something that Canadians want to maintain. It's not an economic immigration program. It's more of a cultural exchange program. Changes in immigration policy I'd expect to be more oriented on those other programs. There is an election here in less than 4 weeks. I think it's April 28th. It's very much up for grabs what the outcome of that election will be. And look, immigration policy will change as an outcome of that election, no matter which party gets in. But then again, immigration policy has always changed, right? Rebecca, you and I have been working in the sector since the previous Conservative government, which ended in 2015, right? So just because there's a change in government doesn't necessarily mean that things open, close, change. Like something's always going to change. We can't predict exactly what that will be. I don't expect it to affect IEC. Let's say, for example, there is a change in government, so that would go Liberal to Conservative. I would expect IEC to continue. In fact, IEC was big under the previous Conservative administration pre-2015. It was always in the picture. There's no reason to think it wouldn't be in the future if the Conservatives came to power.
Perfect. And perhaps the last question. Let's see here. I think I'm not sure if I projected this right. Is it possible to apply through both working holiday and if you land a job, the young professionals?
Rebecca.
So when you enter your profile, I had one ready for that one, Hugo. When you enter your profile, when you submit your profile, you indicate whether you have a job or not. If you have a working holiday profile, you cannot later go on and add a job. You'll have to delete that one and add again your job. You'll then enter both the young professionals and the working holiday pool. If you're selected from, you'll at that point be selected from the young professionals pool. If you're on a working holiday permit and you get a job offer, there's no reason why you would change to the working holiday, the young professionals pool. You would wait until the visa expired. So is it possible to apply for both? You can apply for both. How you would apply for both would depend on the current stage you're at.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. It seems like we've covered a lot of ground and answered most of the questions here. Again, thank you, Rebecca and Hugo, for sharing all the valuable insights on today's topic, and also to our audience for participating and making this discussion so engaging and productive. I guess with that, we wrap up with today's session. Do subscribe to our channel, as we will be, we might host more sessions in the future, and this will be your opportunity to bring in your questions and have us walk you through or guide you through the process. And yeah, once again, we wish you all the best in your journey. And do you have a couple words before we go?
No, just thanks for facilitating this, Rachel. It's always a pleasure.
Excellent job. And good luck, everyone who is, no matter what stage you're at. Good luck.
Perfect. Take care and see you next time, guys.